Hey guys, it's Katie with Tate&Bugs, and this week, instead of following our normal vlog style videos, we're gonna do something a little bit different. We are getting towards the end of our projects and honestly towards the end of our budget with our house, so while we wait for things to sell so that we can get more money to fix our house, things are going to start slowing down a little bit as far as progress with renovations. So to fill in the time, I am going to take you along with me on some individual project pieces, and I'll still show you some stuff throughout the week that what's getting done and things like that. But this week, I'm going to highlight on the bathroom vanity. If you guys like what you're seeing here on our channel, be sure to click subscribe as well as that notification button so that you guys don't miss a thing. Okay, so before I start working on the vanity right now, I want to show you guys a few pictures and videos from before I did the stripping that I did on the vanity itself, and I'll show you videos of when I bought it as well as what I've done on it so far so that you can get the whole entire picture of how far we've come, what we're doing, and what the plan is for this vanity. So that's what this is right here. Okay, so here is a little dresser thing I found that could possibly be a vanity for the bathroom. It's solid wood. Well, I think it would clean up pretty nice, and I don't think it'd be that hard to turn it into a vanity and put a sink on top. Here's my little bathroom vanity. Got this pretty little thing a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to show it to you the before I start trying to strip off the paint. There she is, and from what I can see is there's only one coat of paint, so this shouldn't be too bad. The cabinet doors are going to take a little bit of reworking because they're broken in a couple spots right there. But I'm kind of thinking if I get good, cool looking hinges and put them on the outside, kind of like how these are on the outside, then I can just embrace the broken parts and the rusticness of it. And this one kind of doesn't fit, but I think once I strip the paint, it'll probably fit just fine. The drawer probably won't work anymore, obviously because of the sink, but I may put it on tilt hinges or something if there's enough room, but there might not be enough room for that. It's a little on the short side. It's right to my hip, so I think I'm going to add some 3-inch legs to it and stain those the same color. Let's get started. It is Friday night, and I'm hoping to have this completely finished before the weekend's over. So that's gonna be my goal. We'll see what happens. I've got to show you the plan. So currently it is too short, which I've already told you that, and that's why I bought these little legs for it. They're not gonna be so much for structure, they're gonna be just for height. And as far as structure, we're just gonna screw it to the wall just so that it's nice and stable, and then the legs will just be to bring it up higher. I could not find a sink small enough, just like a porcelain sink small enough to set on the inside. And so what I did was, we had a vanity that we bought for 40 bucks at Home Depot as clearance, and it was a teeny weeny vanity, much smaller than this one itself. And so I'm gonna use the vanity top and go ahead and put that on. But there's an issue. Here's the sink that it is. The issue is that that's depth is 16¼ inches deep. Let me show you what's wrong. I knew this going into it, and I kind of had a couple ideas of how I could fix it just because I really liked this. I was looking exactly for this, an old wash stand, so I can turn it into a sink, so that's kind of cool. from a washstand sink to an actual working sink. So now I was gonna have to fix the depth issue, and let me show you here. If I leave this apron, it is way too short, and I don't want the sink to hang off. So I knew originally I was gonna have to take this little apron backsplash thing off, and then what was gonna happen after that is the depth of this only comes out to like, I don't know, about 16, just under 16 inches probably to this lip. So what I decided is I'm going to take this guy off. There's screws on the back and it's kind of wiggly, so it shouldn't be too bad. And then I'm going to run it through the table saw where these lines meet up right here. So like maybe an inch, inch and a half chunk. And then I'm going to flip it and screw it together, glue it and clamp it, and extend the back. After I extend the back, it'll probably stick out to about here, which means I'll have a gap all the way down from here to the wall. So then I'll just go ahead and put a spacer. It'll look really tacky. Spacer, screw it into the wall, and then run a nice piece of trim down the side and stain it the same color or paint it the same color as the wall. So that's the plan. So I've got the doors in the drawer all sanded down, ready for stain. The next step is sanding the vanity. So let's get to that. Excuse our horrible disaster of a garage, by the way. If you haven't caught our videos up till now, this is also our storage unit and shop in one. So that's why it looks the way it looks. So just try to ignore that and pretend it's this beautiful workshop. I got all the outside done. Tomorrow I am going to table saw this guy and get it gluing and held in place as early as I possibly can so that it can be drying throughout the day. And then I can work on trimming up the doors, cutting the hole, gluing in, nailing in the drawer, and I'm hoping I can get it done before the weekend is over. Good morning. It is Friday. And if you guys have been following along for the vlog aspect of our channel, you'll remember that we had some issues with a piece of equipment and had to send it in and get it fixed and things like that. Well, we finally got it back, and Jarrod is enjoying it way more than he should because the initial plan was to sell it so that we could make a little bit of extra money to fix the house and finish getting everything that we need for the house. Because like we told you before, we're trying to do it all cash and not have any debt through the process. And so I'm afraid a little bit that we might not be selling it. I'm not sure. We haven't really talked about it, but he's dropped lots and lots and lots and lots of hints that it's pretty incredible. Behold, the DR trimmer on the back of the quad. He's just super stoked that you can mow the field that fast compared to the tractor. And he's like, man, the tractor, you have to go kind of slow and take your time. But he's like, man, with the quad, you just zip on up there and get it all done. So I think we're gonna have a financial meeting after a while. I am back up here today in our storage unit / shop to work on this bad little boy. I think the first step is gonna be running this piece through the table saw and get it attached. All right, so told you last night that the sink is 16¼ inches from the very back to the very front, and we don't want to have it hang over here. We want it to stop here at the least. So if we go 16¼ here, that's gonna say that I need at the minimum 1¼ inch. So here where it starts to curve, that's not going to do me any good. I need to make sure I mark my line so I get like a super straight chunk. So I'm going to try to salvage from here to like, let's say here. Right at 1½ is where it starts to transition right here. Oh yeah, I think we're going to be safe. All right, sweet. And when you're measuring and marking important things like this, you always want to make sure that your actual measurement fits inside. So it'll be like your takeaway, what you get after you start cutting. So you don't want to put it right on the blade or on the other side. You want to make sure that the inside of the blade is right on that line, the 1.5 line, so that you don't come out with something that's too small. All right. Alright, it's time to mark the hole for the sink. I don't want to, but I'm gonna. So I think what I'm first gonna do is mark the center of each, and so I can just make sure I have the whole thing centered. I got my center. Now I don't really know what I'm doing. I think what I need to do is mark intervals of 1 inch. I have no idea. I'm sure there's an actual real way to do this, like a real accurate one, but I have no clue what that is. I'm so nervous. I don't know what I'm doing. Worst comes to worst, I can mark a rectangle and do that, but ideally I don't want a rectangle, I want an oval, because it'd be nice to keep the integrity of as much of the cabinet as possible for structural reasons. So we're gonna try an oval, see how that turns out, and if it completely fails and the sink won't sit straight and it just sits all wonky, then we'll go ahead and cut a rectangle. I'm gonna start at the center and measure. How exactly far is this away? And I'm just gonna round up so that the hole's a tiny bit bigger. 1 1/4. So 1 1/4 lands me right here. All right, so I marked all my dots, and honestly, like, it looks straight. So I'm gonna grab my pencil. All right, so supposedly that's my sink hole. And I think to be safe, I'm gonna go ahead and mark a 1/2 inch outside of that for a little bit of wiggle room. So I cut it 1/2 inch bigger all the way around just so that it can wiggle and shift if it needs to. So let's try it on. A little nervous, a little bit here. Let's see. These fit. Woo! It fits, it fits! Okay, so I made quite a bit of wiggle room, which is honestly quite handy. Another big question is, the ledge or the little strip we cut, is that gonna be enough? So let's try that on. Dum dum. There's that and that. Put back here. Let's see. So let's see how this looks up front. It's actually quite lovely because at first the sink was gonna have to come clear out to here. So now that it can be pushed back a tiny bit, it actually looks really, really good. But guys, I'm pumped. I think this is gonna look really pretty. So I think for my pretty little drawer, I'm just gonna pop the top off and put it in place, fix it in place, whether it be by glue or nail or something. I thought about doing tilt hinges, but by the time I do that, it's literally only gonna hold like rubber bands. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in, and it'll just be a little facade drawer, but that is okay. cowboy.
Howdy, ma'am.
Nice birthday hat.
Thank
Father's
you.
Day hat.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you hate it, huh?
I approve. I approve this message. So let me tell you, folks, I don't normally do reviews, but I'm gonna start. And let me tell you, we got a nice John Deere tractor, and it does a great job with the pull-behind mower in the fields. And we just got the DR trimmer, the field mower pull-behind one, the older model, but we just got it back from the shop, and it runs like a champ. Like, I literally just mowed our whole entire property from like 9 o'clock until now, which is not even 1 yet. And I stopped to cut some wood. I stopped to help out Toby. I stopped because someone stopped by. So I bet you it took me 3.5, 4 hours. And literally the tractor, you can't go that fast because it's like, boom, 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 boom. You'll like throw your back out, but I don't know. I'm quite impressed.
I told ya. Alrighty, righty, I'm pumped. I've got the sink outside here and I've got it all glued and clamped, and hopefully by the time we come back from the graduation party we're going to tonight, it'll be nice and dry and I can sand it and start staining it. Tell me what you're doing, sir.
Temporarily throwing up a couple of plugs inside the wall for the fridge and freezer, and we're gonna put them right here, and it'll clean off our front porch. So Jess and Christian are gonna keep our other fridge. Since they live in the camp trailer, they'll have extra fridge space, and so we're moving them up here.
What you doing?
It's nice.
You did good.
It's ice.
You're funny. You kind of look like a dad. Your outfit. Look at there. 2 steps closer to having a beautiful porch. Why spend $80 on a faucet when you can spend $30? Kabam!
You get it brand new.
Brand new on Facebook Marketplace for the bathroom.
Whoop, whoop.
And it matches the kitchen one. Like,
Beautifully.
perfectly. I'm so excited.
Beautifully.
Beautifully. Brand spanking new, guys.
What a bargain!
So the faucet is just a tiny bit too big, or the handles, or whatever the plates are. So Jarrod is going to try to chisel out some wiggle room. Voila!
Voila.
They fit.
Perfect.
All right, let's check on this here. Ooh, looking pretty dry. Everything is sanded. I went over everything with fine grit sandpaper as well, so it's nice and smooth, and it looks great. I'm really excited. So now it's time to stain it. Bummer thing is,
Hey, watch, Mommy.
you want me to watch?
Yeah.
Okay, show me.
Score!
Score! This is all the stain I have left.
I see your moment.
I was really hoping to stain it all tonight, but I can't. So I'll do what I can. Maybe the doors and the legs. Like always, I'm using my absolute favorite Early American stain. I just love that it gives a not too warm and not too dark feel. So let's see what it looks like here. didn't stain it super, super dark or change the color drastically, but it almost just soaked in and grabbed some imperfections and really just gave it a lot of depth, I think. Well, I almost hit my goal for the day. My goal was, well, our goal was to bring the fridge and the freezer up, clean out the garage, and organize some things. And my goal for the vanity was to get everything stained before I went to bed. But got everything with the sides done. That's okay. It's Sunday afternoon and I got more stain. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish staining, maybe put a second coat on some spots and let it sit out in the sunshine and dry. And I'm hoping that it'll be dry enough to get on a coat of my finish, this stuff, before I go to church tonight. Okay, so these are the legs that I got for the vanity. They have at Lowe's, see how it says hardware A or B? They have these brackets that can either, you can buy the straight ones or you can buy slightly angled ones. But the brackets were too big for the vanity. Plus, I mean, I could make them work, but they were also $8 a piece. So instead of doing that, because these won't be a structural thing, they're going to be more for looks, and like I said, we'll screw it to the wall. I'm just going to swap out this threading for these threads, a double-headed screw. I don't know what they're called, but that's what I call them. And so I'm going to do that so that we can pre-drill a hole in the vanity and then screw them into place, because these will not do the trick. They're not near long enough. They're not glued in or anything, so just clamp them on real tight. You can unscrew it this way. And I made sure to get the same size so that I don't have to fight with a bigger screw in a smaller hole. You don't want to clamp on too tight to where you ruin the threads. Just tight enough to be able to grab without it slipping around. Looks good to me. This is our last bit of demo. How gross. Today, in between waiting for coats to dry on the vanity, our goal is to get the porch all cleaned off and looking spiffy. And part of that was pulling off this trim and then the paneling that was up here, so that when we do go to put new stuff up, we don't have to worry about taking anything down. Do you know how different this place is gonna look after we wash it and paint it?
Yeah, it's gonna be huge.
Here's my sweet, clean little porch. It's gonna be so much more fun to walk up to than having all sorts of construction stuff sitting around. Next step, get a door that actually stays shut. All right, so the stain has all dried and it feels really good. And so now it is time to put the finish on. As I was deciding what kind of finish to do, because it's a bathroom, I saw all sorts of oils and different things made for water, and I looked at reviews and some of the reviews weren't great. And so I asked somebody that I know who's really good at woodwork what he recommended, and he's like, man, I don't know, because it's a bathroom. So he said something about an outdoor, like a boat varnish or something. So I went to the hardware store to see if I could find any, and I didn't find it. But what I found was this spar urethane indoor-outdoor, but it's made for indoor-outdoor furniture that's wood. And so I was like, man, well, might as well try it. So I'm going to go ahead and try this. And I will have to try to remember to give you guys at least a 1-year update on how it's holding up. I'm not too worried about the sides. It's mostly the top, but there is not that much showing on the top. So I don't know. We'll see how it holds up. Worst comes to worst, take the sink off, sand it down, and refinish it with an actual oil or something. I'm not sure. So this is what we're going to try today. And it says to go ahead and put the first coat on, let it dry for 2 hours, sand it down, put a second, let it dry for 2 hours, sand it down again, and then put a final third coat. And so that's what we're going to do. I have my brush here. I marked it a poly brush so I wouldn't forget. And this is a Purdy brush. I love Purdy brushes. They're not like the cheapest brushes out there, but you also get what you pay for when you do get the cheapest brushes. Cheapest brushes. So I tried to use the brush, but I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. I am not by any means a woodworker. But every time I use a brush, it makes the finish have like a bubbly look. And I don't know if those bubbles end up popping or something, but I've only ever had really good results using a rag. So I resorted to using a paintbrush on like the cracks and the routed edges and the routed finishes, and then going over everything else with the rag. I just feel like I can get a much better finish that way. So I don't know if that's a matter of preference or if I'm doing something wrong. So if you're thinking of something that I'm doing completely wrong, please let me know. Maybe I'm using too much paint or too much finish, or maybe I'm working it in too much. I'm not sure. But this way I don't get a bubbles. This way I don't get bubbles. And I can be sure to do really thin coats like the jar suggests. It is drying so fast, so I might be able to just move right into my second coat. I don't know if that's because it's really hot outside right now, sweating, or what, but I think I'm going to be able to do a second coat right away. Here's a helpful little tip. With your paintbrushes, it drives me nuts washing them out every single time in between coats. So if you just dip it in a little bit of extra poly or a little bit of extra paint and stick it in a rubber glove or a Ziploc bag, squeeze out all the air and wrap it nice and tight, but it'll stay nice and hydrated for the next coat of paint or poly that you're going to be doing. So technically you're supposed to sand in between coats, but I felt the first coat and it felt super smooth, and it was dry already, so I decided to go ahead and put the second coat on top of the first coat without sanding. But for the third and final coat, I will make sure to go over it with a really fine grit sandpaper, wipe it off really, really good, and then I can have a super, super smooth finish. I think I'm gonna, on the top of the vanity dough, do maybe 4, maybe 5 coats just to really, really beef it up. I'm not sure, haven't decided yet, but time to let it dry, and hopefully I can cram in one more coat before church. Okay, we have 13 minutes before we have to leave for church, so I'm gonna cram in a little bit of sanding and a final coat, hopefully. If I can at least get the top done, then I can, tonight when I get home from church, put the whole sink part in.
Hey folks, so I know you probably didn't see much of me this week. That's because for some reason it's been like peak season at UPS. Thank you, Amazon. So I've been working late hours, but it's all right. And I did get the DR trimmer back, so you saw that, and I mowed our entire property, so that was my progress. Other than that, moved the fridge and freezer up here, wired up some plugs, and my lovely wife is looking way too good to be working on a project back there. So anyway, she's got the goal of finishing that bad boy today. So, thanks for watching, guys. Sorry, not a whole lot of progress this week. Hopefully next week will be better.
Thanks for watching, guys.
So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe, and so you don't miss a thing. And you can click on a little up next video if you want to continue binge watching the Hess renovations.
Ow! That's funny. I was fixing to close the garage door, all excited like this, and say, let's just try this again. I finished it. That's what I was gonna do. I just got back home from church.
You know you're redneck when you don't have a proper front door and it won't stay shut and the wind blows it open, so dun, 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 dun.
A ratchet strap.
And they say duct tape fixes everything. Ratchet straps, baby.
Honey.
Would you like to go inside?
You get creative points for that.
Here, let me open the door for you. Hello, welcome to our home.
We're back from church, and Jared's gonna hang out up here with me while we listen to some Dave Ramsey podcast, and I'm gonna finish my vanity. Talk about reaching goals, folks. Reaching them.
She talks about finishing her vanity, but vanity, vanity, all's vanity.
right, it's the grand reveal. You remember what it was before?
Green and white, painted,
And you
yucky,
called it a
nasty,
what?
and I said it's a piece of junk. How dare you spend $50 of my hard-earned money on that?
40. Oh, we're
it
gonna
was
have to look
50.
back at that.
I'm sure it's 50.
All right, ready?
Set. Wow. How fancy, babe. Wow.
Try the cabinet doors. Do you remember how they didn't open because they kept getting stuck?
How fancy.
With
babe.
ease.
With ease.
He stayed up when he wanted to go to bed to help me finish my goal. Thank you, honey. And that's a wrap for the week, guys. Thanks for watching.
Night night.